While the technical level we're trying to get above is 360, we would all be very, very happy if we could get past the psychological level here on Friday of 350. It's been trying this morning. Market's been flat. The stock has been up all morning. But it seems like it's going to unlikely to penetrate that 350. It penetrated it earlier. What I mean is penetrated and stay above that by the close. But who knows? Could happen. Anything could happen with Tesla. Another one of the quiet days over there on the market, even though there was a fair amount of financial information, economic information coming across the wires. But the biggest one that everybody was talking about was an incoherent consumer sentiment report. And we'll talk about that in a few minutes. From Sawyer Merritt this morning, we have this. He says Tesla has introduced a new program that gives a $1,000 discount off any new Tesla to verified students, teachers, first responders, military veterans, retirees, active duty members, their spouses, and surviving spouses. There you go. It's made in America for everyday heroes. Well, so there you go. Now, if we decide to buy another Tesla, we get $1,000 off for my wife's, duties as a professor. Anyway, Tesla says this, their own account, the Tesla account on X this morning says they continue to stockpile. Oh, I'm sorry, this is not from Tesla. This is from Joe Tegmeyer. He says Tesla continues to stockpile transformers, 200 or more at Giga Tesla, as there are at least 4 different manufacturers and designs that he can see. There's been reported recently, he says, by S.E. Robinson Jr., more transformers and more partners to supply them. So Elon is beginning, it looks like maybe his effort for this massive, massive energy production, deployment, however you want to call it. Transformers are a big part of it. It's going to be interesting to see how this all unfolds over the next weeks and months, because if you want to think about it, you can think about it this way. Robotaxi is going to be the largest product concept, however you want to call it, service in history. Then you got Optimus right behind that. I believe people are starting to put more and more money into the Optimus thing because we're literally about a year away from production that will be sold to third parties. Could happen sooner, could happen later, but that's about what it is. So I think there's going to be some beginnings of money starting to come into that concept as well. And then behind that, you've got the whole idea of being the largest by far between Tesla and xAI, having the largest amount of compute in the world, xAI having it on the side having to do with computers and the way that we process information, and Tesla having it on the real world side and not having any real second places on either one of those if Elon does what he's sounding like he's planning to do, which is get to 1 terabyte of activity or terabyte of energy capability around some kind of an data centers. So need transformers to do that. From AJ this morning, he says we have end-to-end continues to scale. We now have it available for right-hand drive on Tesla vehicles. So full self-driving is now available for right-hand drive. There are videos coming out of Australia showing Tesla doing that. And the idea would be that this must mean that there's a lot of confidence in what they're doing because they're now offering the right-hand drive. Then we have this from Paris, from Nick Cruz-Patain. He says Tesla released a view of FSD. I guess this will be a video of FSD conquering the infamous Arc de Triomphe roundabout in Paris. If you've never been to the Arc de Triomphe, it's quite the thing, although it's kind of made less because of the fact that it's got this 12 avenues leading into the roundabout and multiple lanes of people trying to maneuver their way through there. It's kind of a mess. And then, of course, this is where when we were there that day, some of the yellow jackets had shut down the entire roundabout. creating all kinds of additional confusion. Anyway, if there's an accident here, every driver is considered equally at fault because it's just, I guess they figure it's impossible to decide who's at fault. This is the only place in Paris where the accidents are not judged, no matter what the circumstance. He says FSD handled it perfectly, and he says his mind is blown. He says, this is from the Tesla account, by the way. The next one, this one is correctly from the Tesla account. We are pleased to welcome Jack Hartung to Tesla's board of directors effective June 1, 2025. Now, you may know the name Jack Hartung. He's fairly famous because he joined Chipotle Mexican Grill in 2002 and has held several leadership positions during his tenure. Most recently, Jack has been serving as president, chief strategy officer, and previously served as chief financial and administrative officer, where he was responsible for all finance and accounting functions, as well as supply chain strategies, safety, and asset protection. Over the past 20 years, under Jack's financial leadership, Chipotle has seen significant growth with over 3,700 restaurants today across the United States, Canada, United Kingdom, France, Germany, Kuwait, and the United Arab Emirates. Jack was named CFO of the Year by Orange County Business Journal and Best CFO in the restaurant category by Institutional Investor. He'll be retiring from his executive role on June 1st and transition to a senior advisor role with Chipotle. Jack serves on the board of directors of Portillo's also, and ZocDoc. And the Honest Company. I don't know anything about any one of those three. Anyway, so this seems to be a very solid addition to the board of directors at Tesla. There was some kind of dust up about how much Jack was going to be receiving as a result of being on the board of directors. And Elon says for now, he's not being paid anything. So there you go. That's all I know about it. I just saw the headline. Now, you've heard me complain from time to time about the fact that if you have some expertise in any area and you read an article where you have that kind of expertise and you just go, man, these guys are just completely nuts. They don't know what they're talking about. Well, here's a great example. So the headline is this is from CNBC. It says, how much would a 100% made in the USA vehicle cost? It's complicated. That's the headline. Then they managed to write about 1,000 words without ever mentioning the most American-made car brand, Tesla. You would think that they would at least have one paragraph or even one sentence that might say something like, there's one exception to the rule we're talking about here. The most American-made car is of course Tesla at 85% or so on some of their vehicles, but of course they're electric, and that's blah blah. I mean, nothing, zip zero. Didn't mention the brand in the entire article, and then we have Forbes out with a double the length of this article, maybe 2,000, 3,000 words, really long article, absolutely guaranteeing that the robotaxi rollout will fail. And they have as their main person that they're asking information about this is Dan O'Dowd, who's absolutely 100% positive that the entire project will fail. But they have other people coming in there too. They have some unknown person from Tesla, some executive or ex-executive that's talking about how they're just not ready, and then they have other people from the industry who are saying, they can't do it with just vision. I mean, it is the biggest pile of nonsense you have ever seen. And it's going to be amazing, of course, when this turns out to be really, really, really not. Anyway, when we succeed, and that one will look like so much nonsense, which it is. Okay, we have by the way, if my face is brightening up and my eye and my glasses are starting to have huge reflection off them, it's because I have natural light coming in the room right now. And man, this Hawaii sun is bright this morning. From the 𝐒𝐭𝐵𝐶 letter, inflation. Oh, let's see. First of all, this is Randy Kirk. Hit like. Please, 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 please. Like. Subscribe. If you haven't subscribed yet, it's very confusing to me why you haven't done that. And then hit notify. That's really, really, really helpful to you. What a weekend we've got coming up. I want to tell you, this might be I'm here in Hawaii, and yet I think I'm going to be giving you the most jam-packed weekend of content that's valuable and interesting and useful that I've ever done. I mean, seriously, got Larry Goldberg coming up later today. After that, we got Brian Wang. And Brian, I've switched things around a little bit tonight. Brian Wang is going to be talking about today, the market, where we are technically, where we're going to go, That's what we're going to concentrate on tonight. And then tomorrow, I got Brian coming back. We've already put this one in the we've already recorded this, and we're going to be talking about Elon's energy plan and how that plays out, with him explaining his version of how he thinks it'll play out. And then I've got my version, which he ends up thinking that my version's not that bad. Anyway, that'll be tomorrow, along with more. I've already got 2 Brian White videos, and I mean, just on and on and on. It's going to be jam-packed this weekend. All right. 𝐒𝐭𝐵𝐶 letter. Inflation expectations are now rising for both Democrats and Republicans. Democrats see a whopping, this is the Michigan survey. I've really lost complete confidence in the Michigan consumer confidence. They don't call it confidence. What do they call it? Consumer percent. Anyway, this is just nonsense. Listen to this now. Okay. The Democrats see a whopping 9.6% inflation over the next 12 months. We're going to 9.6. Are you ready for that? Because of tariffs. They've lost their minds. They're only watching their own news, and they're in a little bubble or something. 9.6% from here. Meanwhile, after a brief period of expecting deflation, Republicans have now come up to a grand total of 1.2% inflation. That might be right. It might be a little higher than that, but that 1.2 might turn out to be really, really close. In other words, Democrats' 12-month inflation expectations are 3 times higher than post-2020. This is the craziest thing I've ever seen. Furthermore, Democrats now expect 8 times higher inflation than Republicans. It's the largest divergence in history, according to the 𝐒𝐭𝐵𝐶 report. Okay, we got Amatis Investing says Trump is getting scared of bond yields. Not scared like he was in April when he saw yields spiking and stocks tanking, which caused him to issue a 90-day pause on the tariffs. But today in Gutter, he was asked about the United States Sovereign Wealth Fund. This was a big executive order he was excited about back in February. But today, he says, yeah, we will, this is quote, oh yeah, we will eventually invest in the fund, but we have a ton of debt. We should probably focus on paying off the debt before we start the Sovereign Wealth Fund. I'm not sure I agree with that. I think you can do both. But the point is, he really, this is what I said 3 times over the last 3 days. When he gets back from this trip, his focus is going to be getting this interest rate down. He's going to be focused on getting the 10-year down. That's what multiple different ways. You know how he acts. He's going to do it from the bully pulpit. He's going to do it from the Fed. He's going to do it from the Treasury. He's going to do it from talking to folks and trying to get deals made. He's going to find ways to get the 10-year down. That's going to be his next thing. I'm telling you. So he says, so the article goes on to say, how do we reduce yields and get people to buy bonds? Number 1, we need to reduce SLR restrictions and allow banks to start buying more treasuries. Number 2, Powell needs to cut rates. And then the markets are recovering nicely on accelerated AI investments and lower tariff volatility, but we need to get those yields down to sustain the momentum going into the rest of the year. Watch those bonds. Then from Eric L. Dow, he says, laughing his off, Biden officials are now awed and astounded with President Trump's Middle Eastern trip and deal making, with one saying, quote, gosh, I wish I could work for an administration that could move this quickly, end quote. Oh, he goes on to say he has the ability to do things politically that previous presidents did not, because he has complete, unquestioned authority over his Republican caucus. Oh, is that why? I'm sorry. There are just some things that are just laughable. You think that's the reason, is because he has the Republican caucus behind him. Oh, I think it has something to do with planning. I think it has something to do with hiring a cabinet where every single member of that cabinet is a go-getter, people that are action-oriented, who are making things happen, and where he himself is willing to take risks, risk after risk after risk after risk, and where he is a deal maker, unparalleled deal maker. The final quote of this particular lesson in what Trump is doing: it's hard not to be simultaneously terrified at the thought of the damage he can cause with such power, and awed by his willingness to brazenly shatter so many harmful taboos. I don't know. It's a Democrat talking. Then he says, 4 years of this. Oh no, actually, the person who did the post on X puts the fire symbol. 4 years of this, and that is all in Axios, which is a liberal, a totally liberal analytical company. From 𝐒𝐚𝐲, at AMUSE, yeah, from 𝐒𝐚𝐲, he says, Middle East, if Trump can unite Iran with the Arab nations, the Middle East's economy will surpass the EU's. So in other words, if we put everything together in what's called the Middle East economy, and Iran is not obviously cooperating with the rest of the people in the Middle East, but he's saying if you put all those together and they kind of start to cooperate together, he says the Gulf is undervalued and Europe is dysfunctional. It's dysfunctional. If Gulf countries unite, they could surpass Europe as a trading zone. That's crazy, a little scary. Listen, I guess I'm all for making sure that the Arabs are peaceful, making sure that this entire peninsula, this entire Middle East area is peaceful, prosperous. I guess that's going to be better for the world, but I do worry just a little bit about giving a whole bunch of money in an area where there's a lot of extremism that is not necessarily going to be good for the West. Okay, so I'm not sure how, but on the other hand, I'm not crazy about Europe right now either. They're out of their minds. They've absolutely lost a functional intelligence. From the 𝐒𝐭𝐮𝐫𝐝𝐚𝐲 letter again, quoting him twice today. And by the way, both times the analysis was good, not just the content. He says foreigners are still buying U.S. treasuries. Net inflows to U.S. Treasury funds from foreign investors reached $1.2 billion over the last 4 weeks. That's the highest in 6 months. This is despite a 50 basis point spike in 10-year notes recorded in the second week of April, and that's the largest in 24 years. However, as the Fed delays rate cuts and the odds of the recession decline, yields are rising sharply, which makes no sense. He says, keep watching the bond market. He's 100% right. We've been watching the bond market for how long now? I would say 18 months. We said 12 to 18 months ago, I said, okay, the Fed is irrelevant now. The Fed has always been what everybody paid attention to. All of a sudden, the bond market became the relevant in this crazy thing that we've gone through with COVID, and then with all the money that was pumped into the economy. What became important was this 10-year note. I think I've turned out to be right. Import prices were up 0.1%, which was almost exactly, just a little bit more than expected, but that's not bad, 0.1%. Now, if you take out fuel, then import prices were up 0.4%. Now, that's high, but it's not enough to spook anything yet. Now, here's the quote. Here it is. Here's what you need to keep in mind. If all import prices, instead of rising 4.8% this year, which will be based on that 0.4 month over month, if they were to go up 15%, all 100% across the board, all imports went up 15% this year, that would have an impact on the CPI of less than 1%. This is so important. I just can't say it often enough. So when you look at what they just reported from the University of Michigan, which is nonsense, ridiculous, and stupid, I mean, just stupid. There should have been all kinds of commentary today going, there's no chance, there's no way, there's no how, and that the Republicans will probably have it right, and the Democrats are just out of their minds, which is kind of where things are right now. And by the way, I think Democrats sometimes are way closer to reality, but right now they're just, anyway, okay. The other report out today was housing starts. They were in line with expectations at 1.36 million. That was up from last month at 1.34 million. So apparently, you got the permits, you got the land, you don't want the money sitting around. Apparently, the housing people are figuring there's enough business out there to at least, keep building some houses here. But permits were down, and they were down more than expected. Last month, they were 1.48. It was expected to be 1.44, I think it was. I didn't write it down. And it only came in at 1.41 million. So obviously, again, this is because of the stubbornness of those 10-year yields, which are keeping the mortgages way up there. Crazy. I mean, it just makes no sense to me, but that's a conversation for another day. Let's take a look at where the markets are now. So Tesla is still trying and not succeeding to get through the 350, sitting at 347.87. We've got the Dow, and that is up 1.47%. The Dow Jones is up 0.5, NASDAQ up 0.24, S&P up 0.43. So Tesla, even though not doing what I wanted to, which is break through 350, is outperforming the rest of the market. You've got Apple, Amazon, Meta, Microsoft all down. NVIDIA and Google are up. So most of the Magnificent Seven are down this morning. And not down horribly, just down a bit, so kind of in the middle. But Tesla, doing the best of all of them. And look at this, the Cathie Woods are up, all up nicely. The bond market is only slightly down last time I checked. Let's go ahead and take a look. So we've got the bonds down. Boy, it's been stuck. You think it's my computer? Let me see if I can get this to move. It's like it has been down exactly 2 basis points. Been sitting at 4.435 all morning. It's so weird that it's just stuck there. Oh, the market just closed, so I guess it's going to be stuck forever. So as I'm reporting right now, this is 8 o'clock Hawaii time. Oh no, let's see, wait. 8 plus 6, like is that 2 o'clock? Okay, 2 o'clock. Yeah, it's been closed for an hour. That's why it's stuck. Okay, now I get it. All right, and the 2-month was down 0.9 of a basis point today, and the 2-year is up 0.3 of a basis point. So, but anyway, 4.435, still crazy high. Let's go ahead and look at where oil turned out to be here. We've got oil up 0.97. 99 cents rather. That is 62.61. That's fine. I think it'll come back down a bit. And then natural gas down 1.01, $3.33. That's actually a pretty low price. It's starting to head back towards 3 again. Gold down 35 at 3,191. We could be seeing a lot more sell-off on gold, as Larry suggested. He thought it would happen. Silver is now at 32.37. That's down 0.93%. And copper down a full 2% at 4.59. You've got the dollar mixed again, but ending the week, 4th straight weekly rise against the euro and the yen. So there you go. The dollar has been strengthening as we've seen the change in the position of the president with regard to the tariffs. Bitcoin up 836 for the day at almost 104,000. And there you go. Now, since I've realized what time it is where you are, I've got to go back and look. We've got let's see, we should have the after hours now for Tesla. If I calculated something wrong here, 8 o'clock where I am should be 2 o'clock in East Coast. Oh no, that's right. That's my problem. Okay, sorry about all that. I've been doing this all week. So we're looking at 11 o'clock your time. So no, Tesla now still up 1.43. So other than mine being very, very confused about where things are in terms of times around the country, apparently the bond market really is stuck at being down 0.2, down 2 basis points. So just keep your dial tuned to the Randy Kirk channel all weekend. You can't go wrong. Larry Goldberg in a few hours here at probably about 4 o'clock your California time. Let me stay with California time. That's the one I can remember the best. So Larry around 4 o'clock California time, Brian Wang at about 7:45 tonight. Please hit like, subscribe, and notify, and then join Patreon or join here at YouTube. Either one of those would be a monumental help. We still have time. We've got a couple of hours to go where we could break through the 350 today and end the week, go into the weekend above 350. I think that would be a good symbolic move. Let me know what I forgot or missed today. It's Randy Kirk, and it's been great talking to you.